sports fans. It's Larry Eater with RunBlogRun. We're with Brett Schumacher today, the Chief of Operations for Global Athletics and Marketing, the purveyors of all the finest athletic events in North America, including a fancy little indoor meet that's been going on for 20 years. But we're focused on today a two-day event, the Adidas Boost Boston Games in Somerville, Massachusetts on Friday, June 2nd, and then at the Boston Commons on Sunday, June 4th. Brett, thank you very much for being here.
Great, appreciate it as always, Larry.
And you are a master of all trades. Tell us a little bit about the beginnings of this event.
Well, we had gone from running a Diamond League event, as you're well aware, in New York City. We had the Adidas Grand Prix. We were looking at trying to do something a little different, trying to bring track and field to the masses, kind of get a sense of maybe making a little bit more public involvement and bringing it closer to the spectators, make it a little bit more accessible. So we kind of did a twofold event in that we have a traditional track meet out here in Somerville, and then in addition we do the street event at the Boston Common public garden area. The challenge, of course, is that nothing like this had ever been done in the US ever before. There have been some great events both in Manchester as well as Newcastle where they've done a traditional street track meet, but nothing like this had ever been done on such a grand scale here in the US. City of Boston was beyond excited about the event in trying to bring a little bit more of a different focus to maybe something different than the Red Sox or the Celtics, traditional things. And as we all know, Boston has always been such a great track and field and running town. It was really, we thought we had a great built-in audience for this. And so City of Boston was on board, but then we had to go through the logistics as well as the timelines. Boston, as we know, is a older city here in the Northeast. Streets are small, traffic at times is a nightmare. So the first year, the only kind of concerns, so to speak, that the city had was they really only wanted to shut down Charles Street for a day. And Charles Street is the street that runs between the Public Garden as well as the Boston Common. And so, of course, the events that we talked about in England, both in Newcastle and Manchester, they have upwards of a full week to build their event. We were looking at one day. And so, of course, the toughest part from my perspective, handling all the operations and logistical issues, is trying to get a sense of the operational flow, everything from vehicles to builds to signage, television production, laying the cable, power requirements, all those things that go into it. How are we going to be able to do that in one day's time frame? And of course, without any trial run or practice to be able to do this. I mean, and in many ways, I think, we graded ourselves probably as a solid B. Operationally, in terms of the actual track meet itself, from the crowd perspective, the branding perspective, it was a huge hit with Adidas. It looked fantastic on television. In many ways, the things that we couldn't control, 75 degrees and perfectly sunny with white puffy clouds, the amount of just, random kind of curious passerbys, the attention was fantastic. So that part went really, really well. But one of the challenges with only a one-day build was the actual surface itself. And it just wound up being that it wasn't as stable as what would have been ideal, say, for a particular, the Johan Blakes and the sprinters of the world that have such just an explosive power. So we went back to the city and trying to meet them halfway. They were more than excited about how the event came off. Loved the publicity that it provided both the city as well as bringing track and field fans to something different in Boston. So we did get an additional build day. We actually have 125% more build time this year.
Oh, fantastic.
So that the surface should be 3 times as stable. I went down to New Jersey. They did a little bit of a trial build. It's still a similar system in that we really only have one day to actually build the underlayment, but we've in addition added like a 3/4 plywood complete overlay. So it's all brand new sheets of plywood as well, perfectly flat and adhered on a system, so to speak, that it takes out any of the available seams that are on the underlayment surface itself. We'll lay the track on top of that. Again, it's perfectly level. We've already had surveyors come out and do the full surveying map of Charles Street because the nature of the older streets have a little bit of ups and downs, so to speak. So we feel that the surface will be better. The additional time that we have will make the logistics of kind of setting up that Olympic caliber event that we're looking for to bring to the masses here in Boston.